feel the love tonight. It's the Late Late Show! The Late Late Show!
Everyone knows being invited to late-night TV shows is a big deal. For artists, it's a sign that you've made it and that you're so popular that people are willing to forego tucking in early just to watch you. It's also a steady bucket list item for both tourists and locals alike to be part of the audience in a show like The Late Late Show with James Corden. And since with great power comes great responsibility, there are quite a few strict rules one has to follow if they want to go on The Late Late Show with James Corden. So, if this is also on your bucket list, you might want to take some notes from this video because today we're going to be looking at some of the strict rules James Corden forces his guests to follow on his show. But before that, a simple reminder on how to enter our brand new giveaway. We will be giving away either an iPhone X Max, the new iPad mini, or a MacBook Pro. It's all your choice. So, be sure to leave a like, comment the keyword, subscribe, and turn on notifications to enter the giveaway. It's really that simple. First, absolutely no pictures.
There are so many pictures out there now.
While celebrity guests are almost always required to take a photo booth snap or take a selfie with James, the same privilege is not extended to members of the audience.
Who else would like to play? Anybody at all? Anybody?
Probably the strictest rule audience members have to follow when watching the show live is to keep their cameras and selfie cams to themselves. They are not allowed to take pictures of James, his set, or any of his celebrity guests once they go on stage. There are absolutely no exceptions. Not even when his guest is someone as popular and camera-ready as Harry Styles.
I am not James Corden. I am Harry Styles.
So if you're going to see a show live, you must absolutely resist taking pictures, even if a candid shot of Will Smith in his genie costume could make you an instant online celebrity. The next rule applies to celebrity guests who go on his Carpool Karaoke segment. It might seem a little controversial for some, but James Corden only allows popular people in his car.
Hey, man.
Hey, James, yeah, man.
Oh, thank you so much for this.
As we've said, it's become somewhat of a status symbol in the show business to get in Corden's car, but there's actually a pretty practical reason for this rule. Someone who isn't an established celebrity yet will not have enough songs to fill the entire segment.
I want to be your best friend, East End love, living on the West End.
Sure, James and his guests sometimes sing song covers while driving, but most of it will be the guests' own songs.
You think I'm in love, that I'm sent from above.
And that is why one-hit wonders are absolutely not welcome. Of course, James has admitted some exceptions to this rule, like when he had Michelle Obama over. But come on, that's Michelle Obama, and I feel like anyone would have to make an exception for her.
Here I am, signed, sealed, delivered, I'm yours. Woo!
The third rule is connected to the second rule. James explains that sometimes celebrity guests would request to sing their new singles as ways of promotion, but that is a big no-no. Stars have to stick to performing their most popular hit songs, even though they're probably so sick of getting asked to perform it for everyone else all the time. The rationale here is simple. People watch the show to hear Corden jam with songs they already know. And besides, why should James give free advertising to his guests anyway? You want to promote a new song? Then spend some money for it, and don't just use James Corden's show to do it for free. It makes sense. Most of the time, though, it's not enough that you're a huge star or that you have a lot of hit singles to perform with James. The rule is that you have to have impressed James Corden himself to get in his car and belt out tunes with him. James explained that the car setting is pretty intimate, so it would be immediately obvious if he's not a fan of his celebrity guest. When the Korean group BTS went on the show, some people were a bit worried if James could relate to each one of them, given that there are 7 members.
I am here with Armin V, Jamin, Sugar, Jungkook, J-Hope, and Gina.
But apparently, there was no reason to worry. Not only does James know every one of them on a personal level, even though other people claim you can't tell them apart, he's actually one of the group's biggest fanboys. He can even sing their Korean hits without mistake. That's all thanks to this smart rule that he has to be a big fan of everyone that goes on his show.
This Fast Drive song. Oh, oh, oh.
Here's another rule that makes the show only even more interesting. Guests are not allowed to get a second take, ever. The whole idea of James's show is that everyone should have a genuinely good time. There are no strict scripts to follow since there's a need to get everything in an honest and raw manner.
How about the bird saliva?
This cannot be achieved if James allows for second takes or what they call cure takes. Even when Kanye West brought his entire choir squad for an airplane karaoke session, they all got it in one take. There's still post-editing though, so when celebrity guests make mistakes and would want to scrap some parts of the interview or carpool, they are edited. But they absolutely can't have a second take at the time of shooting. This is a pretty tricky rule. but one that contributes greatly to the show's success. Did you know that about the show? I think that's why the show does so well, because he's not forcing his guests to do anything they aren't comfortable with. It all comes naturally, and it's like two mates talking. The style of interviewing makes the audience and viewers relate, and almost forces the already fans of the guest to become even bigger fans. Quite smart, really. And speaking of being smart and genuine, James Corden also wants his celebrity guests to spill the tea in his late-night show. It wouldn't make great television otherwise if there's no goss or drama. Remember when he had Harry Styles ask Kendall Jenner difficult questions if she wants to avoid eating some really nasty food like eggnog that's a couple of 100 years old?
1,000-year-old eggnog.
No! This is just one way James Corden gets his guests to reveal things that they haven't revealed before. And that is why he's such an amazing late-night show personality. So if you don't want to reveal sensitive information, then just don't go on the show. Or at least come with a pretty strong stomach. Let's go back to some rules that are applicable to members of the audience. If you're gonna be on TV, you already know to wear your best, right? Well, apparently not everyone has the good sense to wear not shabby clothes, and there's a huge price to pay for that. The producers of the show will most likely put you in a corner seat all the way to the back where the cameras can't reach you even for an incidental shot. All because this show needs to portray a certain level of professionalism, and it can't do that if you're wearing a singlet and sandals. You wouldn't want to wait there long hours just to be placed in a bad seat. Another point worth mentioning is that you must pack a lot of energy with you. Despite the long hours of taping, audience members are expected to be enthusiastic or you must leave. That means being ready to answer with a resounding yes whenever James asks questions like, "Who's ready to play?" As an audience member, you become one of the show's characters, which means you have to have a pretty important role to play. It's difficult to perform in front of an unenthusiastic audience. So, if you really want to see the show live, you have to be prepared to cheer, clap, and be loud with your reactions. This is pretty elementary stuff. After all, why would you even want to go if you don't seem like you're absolutely psyched to be there? Not only does it make the viewers watching feel like they are part of something exciting and fun, but also ensures that James keeps putting out his best work. Now, back to the rules that apply to James' celebrity guests, they have to make a grand entrance. You might have noticed that stars who go on Corden's show do not come on stage from behind the stage like they do on other shows. They actually enter the space all the way from the back end and have to walk through the entire row of audiences before meeting James. This is what they call a grand entrance, which really sets the mood for an amazing episode. Apparently, all of these are James Corden's own ideas. No wonder he's the highest paid TV show host with all of these grand ideas on how to make a successful show. While all of these rules so far are incidents of James being one amazing producer, the next rule is pretty full on. Guests who go on the show have to be ready to deal with cops. Why? Well, that's because some of James Corden's wild ideas are not exactly safe. Segments like Crosswalk Musical and Crosswalk Karaoke are actually really dangerous and could also be highly inconvenient for commuters. Sometimes Cop would get involved and ask James to take it down a notch because he ends up being a public nuisance. This is exactly why all guests must be ready to go on some sort of adventure. It's always an exciting day with James Corden, and you can't just expect it to sit in a studio and have tea time with him. Things are bound to get boring sometimes, and JC would have to shake it up by requesting an outdoor shot. Guests would be exposed to the sun, traffic, the public, and sometimes even the rain. If you don't have the energy to go on all of these adventures, then steer clear of James Corden and all his fun ideas. Your loss, really, though. On the rare occasion that your appearance would only require a studio setting, there are still some weird rules that you would have to observe. One such rule is that you have to sit on James Corden's left side. That's not a metaphor for anything, or maybe it is, but what we mean is that you literally have to sit on his left. This is such a big change to how hosts do their interviews. Other hosts, like Jimmy Kimmel, are always on the right, behind some sort of desk. But unconventional as he is, James wanted to have an intimate time with his guests. So he got rid of the desk and sat on couches when chatting with his guests. Now, we really don't know why he insists on sitting on the left, but I guess he just wants to be different.
What is the dream that you hold in your heart?
Next up, celebrities are also asked to leave their sassy attitudes at home. Why? Well, if you regularly watch The Late Late Show, then you know that James does not divide his segments according to his guests. The rule is that all his guests for the night have to arrive and appear all at the same time. James loves interactions between his guests, so you can't be goofing around. You have to be ready to trade stories not just with James, but also with the other guests you're appearing with. This has resulted to some never-before-seen interactions between stars that are from very different worlds. Aside from a friendly demeanor, guests also have to pack a whole lot of musicality. Of course, James Corden's shows feature a lot of singing, so if you're not ready to belt out show tunes, then just don't come at all. Don't forget that even Michelle Obama, who has never been a musician, was asked to sing in the car with James. Music is such an integral part of James Corden's life, and so he expects his guests to know their way around a music sheet or at least a random beat. Did you know that James Corden was also able to trick CBS into installing a basketball hoop that he can enjoy with his fans? More often than not, he would ask guests to shoot some hoops with him. It's all in the spirit of fun and games, so it doesn't have to be competitive. It just has to be good TV. All these strict rules can be summarized to one single idea. The guests and audience members have to contribute to giving a good show. Of course, James cannot carry the whole show on his own, so he needs the absolute cooperation of everyone who goes on his stage or his car or the sidewalks of LA. If you think all of these rules are over the top, then just think back on all the episodes you've seen before, and if you can point out a single one that wasn't incredibly fun and impressive. If you enjoy watching James Corden in all of his shows, then you have these strict rules to thank. A lot of the time, these talk shows work for a little while and then drop off. But when you look at the popular shows, there are strict rules, regulations, and requirements from everyone included to ensure that a good show is produced. That wraps up the video. Thanks for watching.